Decision's great. Now visits, great job not letting the best player beat you.
This one crushed. Out to right field. And it's going to be out of here. Pennsylvania walk-off home run. Trevor Skowronek sends him to Williamsport.
With the 37th pick of the 2023 MLB Draft, the Detroit Tigers select Kevin McGonigal, a shortstop from Monsignor Bonner High School, Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Bryce Harper. Suarez delivers. Swing and a drive. Left field. It's deep. It's going. Yes! And it is gone!
Yes!
It is bedlam at the bank as Bryce Harper has put the Phillies on top.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, his 10th career home run in the postseason. And he may never hit a bigger one.
What is up, Delaware County, and welcome back for Season 3 of Delco Baseball Now. Alongside Ben Thorpe, I am Brett and Ricciardi. Ben, we are back and better than ever. I'm fired up.
Oh, yeah. Big year coming up. Maybe a little bit of a hiatus, but just ready to roll.
Yeah. No, I think I'm really excited. Obviously, right now we're not on, we're not in our studio. We're on Zoom for the time being, but we got big news regarding that we'll talk about in a little bit. But the most important thing that we need to talk about now is, Ben, how was the Super Bowl parade?
Oh, awesome. We were down there. Let's see, what was it? A little bit of an adventure. Ended up coming out, got into Jefferson Station, ended up on the wrong side of the people we were trying to meet. So we snuck down through. There was some tunnel that had kind of been commandeered by the fans. So used that to get over. Saw a dude drop a handgun. That was interesting. And made it over. Saw the team. It was awesome. Stay around for the speeches. Good way to end like a hell of a Super Bowl run.
Yeah. I was mentioning to you I was going to go, but I had this dental procedure done. And first off, I was in a lot of pain. Second off, was on an antibiotic, so adult beverages were out of the question. And I was like, do I really want to stand there? Like, my friends were taking the 5 a.m. media train. I'm like, I don't want to do that and be there for 13 hours. It just would have been just a ridiculous day. And I found out once that I was, the first couple of days I felt okay, but then once you stop taking the 12 ibuprofen a day, you realize it actually still hurts. Yeah, believe it or not, it still hurts. And it kind of
not ideal.
No, but I feel better now. You're gonna see me at some point. I can't use a straw for a week, so you're gonna see me just opening this up and just drinking it. So I promise I'm not a weirdo.
All right.
For those reasons. I'm
just gonna use my straw just to insult you,
make fun of me. I mean, I get it. That's what we're here for. But so basically this episode here, we're going to be doing kind of a 2024 in review before we really just get into the previews and everything in the next coming episodes here. But we're going to start off just kind of talking about what we as a brand kind of accomplished in 2024 and how that sets the table for this upcoming year. So we started in our studio last year, which was awesome. That was in Garnet Valley. We have some news that I'll get to in a sec about what our plans for the studio are. But for right now, we're doing it on StreamYard as our platform, not quite Zoom. But so for anybody wondering, we won't be doing the previews like we did last year where we have people come in or come on the show. We're going to just do the articles, preview articles, because we have a bunch of awesome new interns joining us. We got, I think, 14 or 15 total between writers and photographers. So we're going to kind of diversify that. We'll have interviews, people will be calling coaches and players and getting quotes and stuff. So a little bit different. We also kind of felt bad we couldn't get as many teams in last year that we wanted. So I think this is a good way to kind of get everybody covered here. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec. We brought the game of the week into Delaware County. I thought that was great. I felt like, the games that we went to, it felt like, even though they were regular season games, it felt like it meant more.
Yeah, for sure. I think just adding, I don't know, and maybe that's part of us being a little biased towards we're doing, but I think adding something towards to these games, it does help because it gets a little bit, you're playing 3 games a week. It's kind of cool where it's like maybe one everyone can look towards to be like, oh, like this is the one, this is the big one this week.
Yeah, I think our first one last year was Strathaven and Marple at Marple, and like that game was fun. Like it seemed like it was a good crowd. But I knew that we had something good when all the Pencrest kids were chirping us after they beat Heritage next week after. Where I'm like, okay, like they're bought into this. Like people are interested. Like this game meant more to them than just your normal regular season game. So I think that doing that is definitely cool, and I think it'll be cool for when there's programs that weren't on it last year that might make it this year, or like weren't on it for this year and last year, and then next year like it's almost like Sunday Night Football. Like the Jaguars went on Sunday Night Football for like 15 years, but once they returned, it's like it felt like it meant everything. So excited to try and give that some more life. This kind of goes in with the next point here, but the broadcasting games. We did that for the district championship with Marple and Radnor, and we had like almost 1,500 people tune into that game. And we did that with like an iPhone and a tripod. So I think that trying to stream the game of the weeks each week is something that we can do. We had a play-by-play intern reach out. So I think that's something that, on our YouTube, we can definitely get more streams going, because it really isn't as complicated to stream a game, and it's not hard to be better than Game Changers.
Yeah, no. I think like the streaming stuff definitely is going to be really cool. Hopefully we get like a good system going with that. Cause I mean, like you look at, especially like if you go like up to college, like all those games are streamed. Like it's helpful for fans, like especially like parents, stuff like that, who might not be able to make it out, where you can like pull it up on your phone. So I think like having that as a next step is like could be a really cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, baseball is one of the few sports where like there aren't many night games around here, because I think Marple has lights, and then I guess if you count MSI, but that's like no one's home field originally. So more games that people can watch while they're pretending to work are huge. We also brought the power rankings in, the starting 9, which certainly got the people going, to say the least. The burner accounts were all over us. Maybe they were right, because Radnor ended up being a little better than we expected them to be. But I think just the fact that like I was sent a video of Strathaven baseball at one of their pasta dinners, just like waiting for the rankings to be announced, and like standing up and doing like a golf clap when they were like at the time the number one.
That
team.
was really cool.
And I'm just like, oh, this rocks. So I think having that as just a way, like people can chirp us all they want. I hope they understand that we generally are as unbiased as we can possibly be, and because it's not like it's just one of us making the rankings, being like, oh, like he went to Strathaven, so of course he's going to pick them. Like we have checks and balances, especially with more people on hand now. We have people that can be like, hey, like I don't think they're as good as you'd think they are about any team for that matter.
Yeah, for sure. I think we do have a good job. We do a decent job of like keeping each other in check, and like let's lock in, keep this real about that. But yeah, no, power rankings again, awesome. I think that like that and the game of the week went together really well, where it's like you have your game of the week, and you also have like something backing up like why this is a big game, besides like going on to max preps and something and checking records. Like I thought the two of them worked very well. I thought they like got a lot of attention, which is what we're looking for. Just awesome.
And I think it worked out well, because having the power rankings could be like, oh, we have like number 2 Haverford School playing number 1 Bonner. Like just seeing the little rankings, like the seeds and stuff were definitely something that I think kind of put some context and be like, oh, like this is the game of the week because these teams are both in the top 5 or whatever it may be. And all right, we also had my favorite day of the year, without a doubt, was Dollar Dog Day at Bonner and the Haverford School game. We sold, I think, like 164 hot dogs. We ran out. Originally, we showed up with 100. We're like, I don't know if we're going to sell all these. I didn't account for the fact that high school boys would eat more than one. That was where we went wrong. Shout out, I think it was Shane Durkin and Caden Schuster both had 6.
They went to town.
And it was funny.
They went to town.
That was a preview for our game the next week. Yeah, so I didn't factor that. We had to pay, I think it was Zane Malarkey and maybe Matt Kane from Strathaven to literally go to Acme and get us more. And then we still ran out before the players that were playing could get any. So I think understanding next year that bring more than you should need and then just free is probably the way to go. Shout out Dave Thorpe on the grill that day.
Oh my God. Yeah. That was just an insane Hall of Fame performance by him. And he was the one where because I was going and buying all the hot dogs. He's like, oh, like you probably need like 80. Like, don't buy too much. Like, don't buy more than you're going to sell. I was like, I think I went in and bought like 100, 120, and we were out by the third inning.
Yeah, I think 100. Yeah, dude, on the Saturday, that game was crowded. So
yeah, a lot of people came in. It was that was a really cool day to get like a lot of people out and just like, get the community out, get Delco baseball out.
Yeah, I've seen
throw some hot dogs.
I've seen a couple Saturday games on schedules. I think Bonner goes to the Haverford School now, so we might have to return the favor with a little there.
We might need like 2 flat tops.
I would love. I mean, I think the perfect setup. Bonner was definitely up there. I think O'Hara would be a great place to do it.
Yeah,
you have all that like space down the right field line. So I think that would probably be a good place.
Yeah, that would be perfect. You kind of have that whole field. Either that or like up on the left field hill at the very least. We ran into the issue, like not an issue, but like realizing like, we might not have space because the Bonner football was out there when we first got there. So like that could be the same thing if like O'Hara's using that side field for something. The hill would be perfect.
All right. Well, last week, if we call it introduction last year, was the merchandise. I got our fresh Delco Baseball Now hats on here. I think part of what we'll be planning to do this year is having merch, and that's not just DBN merch. Have like team specific merch, or maybe like game of the week T-shirts that you can buy like at the game of the week. We had the City Connect T-shirts. I think that we did a good job with those. I know Pencrest definitely liked them. I know Strathaven got a bunch as well. I think the Haverford School got a bunch of the Fred Jordan ones as well. So I think that those were fun. The ugly sweaters from this winter break. I think the main goal was try and sell merch that isn't just like stuff that you could get on a team store, like the official team merch. Like have it be more inspired by like the players or stuff that the fans would want, or stuff that like we did with like the Little League stuff, like the sock puppets for Newtown Edgemont and the free brights for Aston Middletown. I think trying to have stuff where it's like we're trying to think outside the box a little bit and understand that if you want to just buy a hoodie that says Haverford School Baseball, you can go to their team store and do that. If you want an Episcopal baseball polo, go to their team store and do it. But we can also have things that are a little untraditional. So I think that's something that we're going to try and do a little bit more. And now it seems like a good time to talk about our new partners, our guys over at Lens Sports Group. That's Matt Ray and Mike Palumbo. They approached us. They wanted to join. They wanted to join the brand. So they are now part owners, and they're going to be helping us with two of the things we kind of mentioned a lot: events and merchandise. We want to bring different events around here, whether it be like a Delco home run derby, maybe like baseball summer camps, recruiting showcases. And I think the one that I would love to make happen sometime next few years is like a kickoff weekend tournament. Like you see a lot of these colleges do, just have like, a Central team, a PCL team, an Interact team, like get like 4 to 6 teams, get a field. And then instead of their scrimmages, have that be like, they don't even have to count for, your overall record if you don't want it to, but like just have something where these, it just kind of gets things going for the year.
Yeah, for sure. I think that would be like something really cool down the line. And like, I guess when we talked about it, like in the meeting and everything, there's definitely a little bit of like red tape that we're going to have to go through before that. And I mean, obviously get people that want to play. But I think like, it's obviously an incredible partnership. We're over the moon about it. And it's going to open a lot of opportunities with the games like home run derbies. Keep an eye out. I think that's something that like generally we have good momentum towards doing. And then the merch, like I'm excited for like what we're going to be able to do with the merch now.
Yeah, I think the biggest obstacle for us with merch is we didn't really have the funds to like, for example, order 40 T-shirts, and if only 20 got bought, like that's a big loss for us. But now that they're helping us out, it's something where if we were to order 40 shirts and sell 20, like it's not as big of a hit on us. So it's something we can kind of take a risk in that regard. So I think that definitely helps a lot. I think my goal, and it might be a little late for this summer because a lot of them are already scheduled, but I think it'll be cool to do like a summer camp at like each little league around here. Like, then Ridley, then Aston, then Nell. Like, I think that, we've gotten close enough in those communities where we could probably kind of, get that going. So, but very, very exciting partnership there. I think that, we both have the similar vision in mind of kind of just, taking over and being more than just the news platform, also just having the events and community building stuff as well. But also supporting our journey. We have some new sponsors on board. So let's hear from our good new friends over at the Substitute Teacher Service.
If you love working with kids and making a difference, then Substitute Teaching is the perfect job for you. Substitute Teacher Service is hiring teachers in your area year-round for all positions and levels. A teaching degree is not required. We provide you with all necessary certification and even help you to work towards a full-time teaching position. Great benefits, flexible schedule, a rewarding career. The subservice is hiring right now in your area. Learn more and apply today at thesubservice.com.
All right, thank you to our guy, J.R. Godwin from STS. So funny enough, this is actually where I work. I would like to think that maybe that was part of why that they agreed to be a sponsor for us, but I think it also just shows that I can speak on their behalf as well, just about how well they treat their employees and how good it is to work there. And I would say the number one selling point to anyone is it's a good job if you want flexibility, because if you want to work 1 day a week, you can work 1 day a week. If you want to work 5, you can work 5. It's as simple as you just pick up shifts. Like, you just go on the app and accept the job. And I know from his perspective, there's a lot of people like me where, we have like a side hustle like this that we're trying to grow. Well, STS is a good job because it's not a long-term commitment. You don't have to have your normal, you don't have to have a teaching certification. There's like a training that you do and get what they call like an emergency cert. If you're someone that's kind of wants to be a teacher but isn't there yet, it's a good way to make money and get, that resume booster. And I know from JR's perspective, a big part about why they wanted to be involved is because they want more Delco districts. If they can add like any Delco schools from this, then that's absolutely, good ROI right there. So yeah, I'm excited to have them on board. I think it's a perfect, selling point for guys around our age, maybe like fresh out of college, where they're like not quite sure what they want to do with their life. They haven't quite got like the job offer that they want or whatever. Like, this is something where, it can be temporary if you wanted to, and it can also be a full-time job if you wanted to. So the flexibility is there. So I'm excited to have them on board. They will be the sponsor for the power rankings. They will have like their, commercial on our shows and also on the score graphics. So excited to have them on board for the year. But with that being said, let's dive into kind of our 2024 recap. We're going to go not too deep on any like one specific, thing. We kind of just want to lay out, it's like we were talking about it before we recorded, kind of like that, previously on Delco Baseball Now. Like, what did you miss? Like, if it's the season premiere, it's like, what did you miss the last time we left off here? So let's start off. We'll kind of go in chronological order as best we can. We'll talk about our Delco conferences. As a Strathaven alum here, it's, great pride I have talking about them. They won their second straight Central League championship. They went 12-4. This one came down to the wire. I remember I made a post on our account at some point where I want to say like 5 or 6 teams were still in the race with like 3 games left. Like, everybody was like 10-4 or like 9-5. Like, there was enough where like half the league was still in the race with a couple games left.
Yeah. And it was like definitely like right to where it kind of came down to the wire. Like, I think a couple of teams dropped a couple where they knocked out, but it was them and Garnet like went to the last day. Last day.
Yeah, I remember. So I was at I think it was Strathaven played Springfield the day that Marple played Pencrest, where we went to that game of the week. Like, we did a doubleheader, and Strathaven won, so they had like clinched their share. And then the last day of the year, if I'm not mistaken, I think, if Strathaven won, they would win it outright, or if Garnet lost. And I'm pretty sure Haven lost, but then so did Garnet. So
yeah, Garnet lost to Ridley.
Yeah, because Haven lost at Pencrest, and all the Haven players it's like, yeah, we won, but they were pissed because they lost.
Yeah.
So it was like, like a little bittersweet there. But yeah, I believe that's now 3 and 4 years. I think they won in 2021, then Garnet won in 22, and then they went back to back in 23 and 24. And I think a lot of that, comes down to the arms that they've been able to put out there the last couple of years. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
They've had they just had a embarrassment of riches going from like Cole Peichel as the ace to then Pac to then Dancona. Now it's like you had 3 like Division I talents, maybe not playing at Division I schools, but guys that have been just you pencil them in to go out there and let up like 2 or fewer runs. That'll keep you in a lot of games. And then last year, the emergence of Rob Matei as well. They had a 1-2 punch that they were able to. Sometimes when the bats weren't awake, they were still able to win games. But it was kind of funny that it came down to the wire of them and Garnet, just 2 completely different constructed teams.
Yeah, oppositely built teams.
If you merge their teams, they'd go 16-0. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, enough that. Yeah, I guess it's kind of the interesting thing of like 2 different philosophies working. One team's gonna just mash, and pitching and defense can be a little bit questionable at times. And the other team's, kind of the opposite of like they're going to pitch, they're going to play really good defense, and it's going to be a bit more of like a small ball approach. But both have like been very good at executing both of those plans. So, it shows like there's different ways to do this in baseball.
Yep. In a second, we'll talk about the district brackets. I have the district brackets up, so we'll get to that in a sec. But first, we'll move on to the Del Val. Ben, do you know the last time Chichester lost a Del Val game? Because I think we might have
I think it was before the pandemic.
Wow. Because I know they've won it 5 years in a row.
They've won the Del Val. I looked at this like probably when we did the previews for last season. I remember looking at when was the last time? Because it was like Interboro had, up until COVID, Interboro I think was like winning maybe until the last, like 2019, I think Chichester won. But Interboro had a really long run of winning the Del Val. And then since the pandemic, they have not. I don't know if they've won I don't know if they've won a game since then. Against Chichester. I would say 19 is probably the last time. Maybe.
Yeah, because I think I said they won 5 in a row. So I think it was 19, then 21, 2, 3. Okay.
I'll just look.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because I think when I made the merchandise for them winning, I think it said 5 in a row.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Pretty sure. But credit to Dan Singley and the boys. They've clearly put together a great program there in terms of how they've been able to no matter how good you are, it's hard to go undefeated every year in the conference. Like to not have one slip up, especially like against a team like Interboro, that's a rivalry game. It's definitely hard to keep that focused. So credit to those guys there. All right. While you keep looking that up, I will move over here to the PCL where
you were right. 2019 was the last time Interboro beat them. That's
wild. All right, moving on to the Catholic League here. I don't think I realized because like in high school, I think we played Bonner. They were obviously not the stature that they are right now, but I didn't really know too much about like the Catholic League, like the teams outside of Delco. But LaSalle I think has won 4 PCL championships in the last maybe like 6 years. I just posted something about it. And if they're not winning, they're usually in the game as well. So that just shows, what kind of program they built there. And people can say what they want about the Catholic schools competing in like the district tournaments and stuff. But when it comes to like the PCL and whatnot, it's fair game for everybody there. Let's see. Yeah, they won in 18, 19, 21, lost in 23 in the championship, then won in 24. So they're always in the mix, and we don't have to dive too deep into it as a non-Delco school. But I will say, them doing this, there's always a target on their back, and I believe Newman Goretti knocked Bonner out in the semis, and then LaSalle beat them in the championship. Technically, I guess I'm going to be specific. I guess Goretti got the last laugh of winning their state championship when LaSalle lost. But at the end of the day, 2 great programs, and I mean, they're obviously going to be in the mix every year. So hopefully from our Delco sake, our Bonner guys can give them a run for their money. I think O'Hara is at least trending in the right direction. And, I think now you have arguably the best hitter in Delco and Brennan Till there, and then a Division I recruit pitcher and Adam Schreiber. So who knows? Maybe they can shock people. Carroll's got a new coach, so we don't really know what we're going to see with them yet. But let's move on to the Interact. Believe it or not, Malvern Prep won again. How about that? Yeah, we love Freddie. Malvern Prep has built a dynasty there. They won the state championship over the Perkiomen School. We are so close to having a Malvern versus Haverford state championship.
Yeah,
which
that would have been really cool
because they split in the regular season. So having that as kind of like the best 2 out of 3 would have been great. I want to say that I think Perkiomen beat Haverford on a walk-off.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was a close game. It was like 2-1 or 3-2.
I think it was a walk-off home run, something like that.
It was a home run or double or something, like whatever it was. I was on the bench at like a Delco League game, like following along on Game Changer.
Yeah.
And, following that, but yeah, Malvern. So Malvern's one of those teams that we want to try and cover more now that we have more hands on deck, because it's another one of the schools where there's Delco guys, but it's not technically a Delco school, like Devon, like Friend Central, like Shipley. I had one of the Friend Central coaches kind of reach out and basically like kind of respectfully ask like why we weren't covering them so much. I'm like, well, we could barely cover, with us too, the 20 that fall within our borders. But now it's like, listen, like we're not going to get you every game, but like if you guys go out and beat like a really good team, it's something where we can try and spread the wealth a little bit. But I think it's finding that line between like, they're not going to be on the power rankings, they're not going to be in the player awards and stuff, but like we can still kind of bring attention, especially like Friend Central, like their conference isn't Delco either, so it's hard sell. But like I get it, like they're Delco guys, so we're going to do our best here. But let me pull up the District 1 brackets here just to kind of give a refresher. So I'm just going to run through 5A and 6A. Delco Christian lost in the championship in 1A. I think they're 2A now, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I saw them and Faith Christian both move up. But starting at 5A, first round, Marple Newtown was the 8th seed. They took down Phoenixville 7-4. Pencrest took down Upper Moreland. I think that's their second playoff win ever. Radnor beat Interboro 11-0, and Westchester East beat Oxford 4-3. So that set up Marple Newtown going on the road and beating Chichester 7-0. Got the bye. Strathaven beat Pencrest at home for their best 2 out of 3. Radnor stunned Unionville 3-1. They knocked a Tulane commit out of the game pretty early. Upper Dublin won 9-2 over Westchester East. And then Radnor once again went on the road. They took down Upper Dublin 5-1. Just pitching was ridiculous. I mean, in your first 3 district playoff games to go in there and let up 0, 1, and 1 on 3 straight road games at that.
Yeah.
Punch our ticket to the championship. And then on the other side of the bracket, in my opinion, probably the biggest stunner in terms of final score all year was Marple Newtown beating Strathaven 13-2. Like if you told me that they were going to beat them, I could believe you. But the fact that they went out and just pummeled them like that was ridiculous. And then they stayed hot. They beat Radnor. For some reason, the bracket doesn't have the final score. I think it was 11-4.
Yeah, it was like
it was around. It
got a little. It was like it wasn't not close.
No,
it got like at the end, it got a little.
Like Marple went up like 4-0 in the first.
Yeah.
Called for a little, and then they pulled away. But yeah, Marple Newtown won. Upper Dublin beat Strathaven in the 3rd place game, which was a bummer because I wanted to see Bonner and Strathaven play in that district in that state playoff game. Moving on to 6A, we don't have to do the whole bracket just because our Delco teams are out pretty early. I know Garden Valley took down Council Rock South before they lost to 3rd round pick Chase Harlan and Central Bucks East. Who, I mean,
tough one. They made it like interesting at the end too, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, well, good for them. Good fight.
Someone hit a grand slam. I think it would have been Harrison Mall. Like someone hit a grand slam for Garnet that made
it.
Yeah. Ridley lost a heartbreaker 3-2 at North Penn. And where's Lower Marion lost 7-1 to Henderson. And Haverford walked off Penridge. That was a great game. Jimmy Boyle had the walk-off and had like 12 strikeouts, but then they lost to Neshaminy in the 2nd round. Just fast forward a little bit. It was Downingtown East versus Downingtown West in the championship game. which is awesome if you're just a baseball fan or like someone from that area. Uneventful game was 6-1 Downingtown East to win. I think that might have been their first district championship. I'm not sure. I thought I remembered seeing that. Maybe it was the first time they met in the playoffs specifically. But from the state's perspective, it's funny because, like, don't get me wrong, Bonner 100% deserved to be in the bracket, but they could have gone 0-12 and they would have still made the state tournament.
Yeah.
All they had to do was beat the Philly Public League team that was also in 5A. So again, they deserve to make it, and they probably were. They would have been the highest, ranked 5A team from the PCL anyway. But it is kind of funny just like looking at it where like they were almost guaranteed to be in it, but they won 2 games, so it's not like they,
Yeah, they made the semifinal. Like it's not.
Yeah. So they took down Upper Dublin in a game I was at. They took down Bethel Park in a game you were at because I was moving into this apartment. And then they lost to Hollidaysburg. I was at that game with the wonky lefty that was just keeping everybody off their
just dicing
their game. Yeah. Our Central League teams did not fare great in the state playoffs. Radnor lost to Saquon Barkley's alma mater, Whitehall. That game, I think, kind of got out of hand late, but it wasn't like a blowout. Marple
Marple had a rough. That was not pretty.
Who was it?
They played.
I think it was Shippensburg High School.
Yes. Yeah. Shippensburg.
Whoever it was, they got smoked.
The Shippensburg team was really good, but that wasn't just not the best showing for them.
And real quick, just to wrap up the high school part of the segment, I'm going to pull up here, just kind of read through our first team All Delco and then some of our awards, so we can kind of tie that together. Gavin Brown was our most valuable player, and it's funny. I feel like obviously this was the first time we have ever specifically picked like a Delco Player of the Year, but I think the fact that it was someone that really came out of nowhere. Like if you looked at
it was really cool.
He was uncommitted to playing college. I think right now he took a gap year to kind of figure it out. But someone who, I think his ERA the year before was like above 4. He hit like 250, like someone that we thought was going to be like their ace and do well, but I don't think anyone saw a 1,500 OPS and like a 1 ERA. Just putting that team on his back and getting Pencrest back to the playoffs. But award-wise, our Cy Young was Van Wilner. He did not allow a single run a single earned run during the regular season. Bennett Cox was our Offensive Player of the Year. He hit .493 with a 14.08 OPS. Alex Barris from Episcopal was our Defensive Player of the Year. Made as a middle infielder, making 1 error the entire season.
That's impressive.
It's ridiculous. We had Jimmy Boyle from Haverford High School was our Breakout Player of the Year. He had a 1.10 ERA. Was just a sophomore last year. Recently committed to Thomas Jefferson. So excited to see him continue to develop. Our Clutch Player of the Year was Paul DeFrucio because Marple was dealing with a bunch of injuries and he hit 4 homers in 5 games to kind of lead them to that district championship. We had Brian Miller from Harvard High School as our Coach of the Year because they went from a team that was 6-10 in the Central League to adding 6 wins, getting their first playoff win in 15 years. It was hard not to pick Toby McCart from Marple from winning the district. We just felt like this award a lot based on expectations, and I don't think anyone saw this Haverford team kind of taking that big leap forward. Speaking of Haverford, our pitching performance of the year, Will Hoffman threw a perfect game, so it's pretty easy to make that our performance. Gavin Brown hit 2 homers and a double in that game of the week. For the record, also pitched 6 shutout innings, but it's the Offensive Player performance of the year, so I guess that doesn't matter. Game of the year, Ridley beat Pencrest 2-1 in 11 innings, where both starters threw over 8 innings, which in a pitch count world is crazy. Nobody touching those guys, Chris Kimmel and Gavin Brown. And as mentioned, Gavin was our MVP. I think overall, the awards ended up being a little Central League heavy, but we did do our due diligence in trying to mix and match, and that's just kind of how it worked out last year.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's see. We'll just run through the first team All Delco. Our catchers were Quinn Bryan from Bonner, Danny Stickney from Ridley, and Zach Fine from Radnor. Zach will be back. Other 2 guys are off at college. Middle infield, Connor Scanlon from the Haverford School, Brendan Till from O'Hara, and Mark Zuppo, a new Delco Baseball Now intern who went to Garnet Valley.
Yes, sir.
He's Lackawanna JUCO now. Brennan Till returns for O'Hara this year. Probably one of the favorites, if not the favorite, for the Offensive Player of the Year. Our corner infielders, Jackson Kehoe from Bonner, Josh Claycomb from Chichester, and Andres Cruz from Radnor. All three of those guys graduated. Outfielders, Chris Schaller from Garnet Valley, Jaden Rivera from the Haverford School. Both of those guys are back. Jake McDonough from Strathaven's off to Misericordia. Lucian Berger from Marple Newtown off to Fairfield. Brenner Green committed to Richmond as a pitcher, but he still hits very well. So he is back for another year at the Haverford School. And Eddie Swartanevich from Garnet Valley is off to DeSales. Bennett Cox, DH from Marple Newtown, is at Canisius. As you mentioned, Gavin Brown from Pencrest took a gap year, but he was a two-way selection for us, along with Harry Carr, who's a Bonner guy who went to Butler, and Sean Williams from Springfield, who went to Seton Hill. Wrapping it up with our pitchers, we had Lower Merion's Van Wilner, who's taking I guess called a prep year. Grad schools before he heads to East Carolina. Haverford's Jimmy Boyle, as we mentioned, still just a junior this season, so 2 more years at him. Luke Dancona from Strathaven. He is a Boston College recruit, but he's got 1 more year left. Pair of Haverford School pitchers, Kevin Reevy and Ian White Jr. Kevin is at, I believe, Army now. And Ian White Jr. is at East Carolina. And last but not least,
pitched.
Did he? You got some time?
He threw their first game. He threw like 2/3 of an inning. I think it was just like a little spot, like bridge guy type thing, but I think he did well.
Any action as a freshman was good action.
Yeah, for sure.
And last but not least, Ryan McWilliams from Radnor, who committed to Kenyon College. Now, it's funny, following Radnor all year, Austin Havertine was great. Don't get me wrong. He was on our second team, but I think we kind of valued the way that McWilliams just in the playoffs just mowed people down.
Yeah, for sure.
You might not gas it by you, but I think his splitter is what people have a lot of issues with, and he'll be back for a Radnor team that has 4 college commits in their rotation. So very, very deep squad there. All right, well, that'll wrap up our high school talk. We'll move into college in a sec, but first we got another sponsor to announce. We got Sean Cleary at Cleary Psychological Services. He is a sports psychology consultant that's based in media. He specializes in helping teens and young adult athletes improve their performance on and off the field, whether it's mastering concentration, controlling anxiety, or building self-confidence. Sean is here to help you prepare for the game that, let's be honest, is 90% mental. And Sean has been featured on Fox 29 and in Philadelphia Magazine for his expertise in sports psychology. He's worked with different baseball players and teams throughout Delco. If you're serious about reaching your potential, Sean wants to work with you to build your mental toughness. Book a consultation at Sean D. Cleary. That's Sean D. CLEARY.com, and follow at Cleary Counseling on social media. The difference between good and great is in your head. And I think that most baseball players, except for the guys that, let's be honest, I feel like it's the big leaguers. Like even them, everybody's at some point has failed in this game. And I think that learning how to fail is something that you might not, everybody has their, like, if you would call it like coming to Jesus moment, where they're like, wow, like I'm no longer the best on the field, or I'm no longer the best on my team. Like guys, go to college and for the first time in their life, they're on the bench, right? They've never been on the bench for extended periods of time, or they reach a slump for the first time and have to kind of deal with it. So I think learning how to fail, but also learning how to prepare and learning how to, sometimes you don't want to wait until a bad thing happens. You just want to, get proactive in it. So I think that what Sean does is awesome. And I think that anybody that either is having, their mental health issues on the field or just wants to make sure they don't, should definitely try that out.
Yeah, for sure. I think, being able to, I think we both say, like, and I guess in baseball was like, the sport sucks. Like it really, really does. And, I think the good times and the good days make it worth it. But, having a way to get through the bad ones is always helpful. Some guys can find it in themselves to get through, some need extra help. So something like this is perfect for us.
Absolutely. Sean will also be sponsoring a inning broadcast for our game of the week. So excited to get those streams going. But for right now, let's move on to some of our college talk. Not too much here, but we had 2 national champions at the Division III level. We had Drew Van Horn a Garnet Valley alum, and Brian Henry, a Bonner alum. They won the Division III National Championship with Misericordia. Ben, I believe their first ever.
Yep, first ever. They've been to a few World Series, but this is their first time actually winning. Very cool. Drew Van Horn had an incredible, like a really good World Series. He kind of had like played sparingly throughout the year and got a shot there, I think, in the World Series itself, and just balled out. So
yeah,
a pretty big part of that.
I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure I'd like texted Drew at some point early on, like, because he was playing some during the season. Like, it feels like their coach is kind of just like a play the hot hand kind of guy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And if I recall, I don't really think he played much in regionals. And then I think whoever, was the other third baseman may have started struggling, and then Drew got his shot, or maybe didn't play in like regionals, but did in like super, like whatever it was. There were times where he wasn't looking like he was going to be a big part of it.
Whatever it was when he came in, like he hadn't seen like an at bat or anything in like a pretty good while. Mm-hmm. I forget exactly the timeline, but yeah, I think it was the World Series where he like went in and started playing. I think they had already like gone. I don't think he played in regionals, and I don't know if he did in super regionals, but I think it was the World Series.
Yeah, and he had a couple of like 2 or 3 hit games in that stretch. Mm-hmm. Oh, I think he hit like 400 in the World Series. So congrats to Drew, a Delco League teammate of mine. I believe Brian got hurt early on and was like trying to come back and just wasn't like. I remember he threw like a 9-inning complete game like very early on, and that just probably wasn't, probably didn't work out great for him after that, I'd imagine. But yeah, these guys got 3 more years ahead of them, maybe 4, who knows. Now they got Jake McDonough and Will Tamar there with them, so we got more Delco to watch as they try and defend the title. They took down Wisconsin Whitewater, who near and dear to my heart, because that's who we beat in our club national championship. So I do have a soft spot for the Warhawks. I like them, but
great program up there.
Yeah, I saw they got their rings. So congrats to those boys. Speaking of the Penn State club baseball team, that's right. They did go back to back. I was on the 23 team, but they went back and they did it again. Drew LaMonica from Conestoga. Owen Mathis from Marple was on the team all year, but he was studying abroad in Italy when the World Series happened, because he agreed to do that like months before the World Series happened, like even before the dates of the World Series were announced.
Yeah,
I don't think when you wake up in Italy, you're missing it too much, but also like I'm sure it was a bummer not to be there. But he got a ring, and then he's got 2 more years of another really good team, and I'm glad that I can kind of help people. Because, like, I'm sure there's people out there that might not have known either what club baseball is or what it's about. And that's kind of what I'm trying to, help people understand, that even if you don't have the offer you want, just go to a big school and keep playing,
Yeah, no, it's club's the best. It's funny we got like a D3 guy and a club guy here, just like pushing those.
Yeah, we are the propaganda.
The two that normally get pushed is like, yeah, you're on your own, but like, hey, you want to know D3 or club ball? We got you.
Yeah, no, we are the propaganda for lower levels of baseball. We had the Westchester club, both the D1 and D2 club championships coming from Pennsylvania. How about that in a warm weather
powerhouse state
country, warm weather state, as well as Misericordia for D3. We had Zach Taylor from Chichester was a big part of their team. He was one of their best players. Nico Marushko, I think, went to Sally's, but he's an Aston guy, and Brennan Liney from Haverford High School. They took down Ohio State, so I was pulling for them because you can't root for the that team over there. I just want to say, I think it's so impressive for a school like as small as Westchester to win a national championship in anything. And when you're playing in a World Series where there's like Ohio State, Grand Canyon, like Nebraska, like all these big schools. And I'd imagine, like, if you're just a normal Ohio State student, you probably don't even know what Westchester is.
Yeah, you might not, especially like if you're not from around here. I feel like if you're not from around here, you're probably not going to know what Westchester is.
No, like I would probably argue over half of like the NCBA, like the club baseball world, couldn't even tell you what state Westchester's in.
Probably, yeah.
Westchester,
if they found out, but like
found out. I feel like Westchester, New York is what people think of when they hear Westchester. So that's probably what they assumed. But those guys, they beat Penn State and a bunch of our Delco guys in the regional championship. But since we had Delco guys on both sides, it's hard for me. I as an unbiased baseball journalist to be too upset about it. But we had 3 teams with national championships. I think we have a good chance for some more this year. We'll talk about that a little bit. Mike Anderson with Arkansas, Andrew Healy with Duke. We got Lackawanna JUCO. We got Rowan County, South Jersey, Gloucester going for a 3-peat with Tommy Bradley. So a lot of good options. Westchester and Millersville are always in the mix as well. Let's move on. We're going to go a little bit younger in age group here. We're going to the Little League districts right now. So starting with the Ridley 10s. Do you remember off the top of your head how dominant they were in the district? Because I have the numbers here. I
remember it being pretty dominant. I don't know the numbers, but
in the district bracket, they won their games 15-0, 10-0, 11-1, and 9-1, which is hilarious. Then in the sectional tournament, they won 11-3, 9-5, and 12-2. So these guys can hit. They had some family. They had Connor Scanlon's brother and cousin. They had Danny Stickney's cousin. These guys were just a machine in the state tournament. They made it to the championship, and they unfortunately were beaten twice by Hollidaysburg's just coming after us for some reason. The Delco Slayers, apparently. Yeah. But great run for them. I'm sure, in 2 years, they're going to have their Williamsport aspirations as well. Going to the 11s, our guys with the sock puppets, Steve Brady and the Newtown Edgemont squad, they took down Ridley and then Marple Township twice. They won the district, believe the second year in a row. I think they won when they were 10 and 11, so they're definitely the favorites. Definitely the favorites going into the tournament this year. They beat Plymouth. They lost to Morrisville. They beat Radnor Wayne. They beat Morrisville twice to win the section. I believe they won 1 game in states and then lost twice after that. But good experience for those guys. And I know the sock puppets thing was awesome. They bought a ton of T-shirts from us, which is very cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Another example of wanting to have merchandise on site so we can just get things out like quickly instead of waiting for it to ship. Aston Middletown, free Bryce was the mantra after Bryce Moore, he's the pitcher. He said he was grounded, but he could be ungrounded if he pitched well, and he pitched well, and they won, so he was ungrounded. The free Bryce T-shirts were great. That whole 2-day stretch was awesome because Newtown Edgemont won on a walk-off homer from Nate DeBellis the day before, so then they had to come back. And Aston, they could have easily just let that game rattle them, but they won 11-1. They won. I believe you were with me. They won their first game because they hosted sectionals.
Yes, they did win their first game.
And then they lost the next 2. I believe they might have won 1 more to get back in it, but they ended up losing in sectionals as well. I know that, but I think that having the summer before was like the media Little League run. I think our expectations were so high, we're doing it again. We're going to go another super deep run. And be back, but then we have to understand how rare it was to get to Williamsport, to even get to the state tournament, to get to the state championship. It's a long road, but we're excited to do more with the Little League. I think that can be something where we get into more of the broadcasting games for people that can't come. I think that those games are more packed than any high school games we're at all year.
Yeah, there's a decent amount. I still think back to the year before when they had the states in Nell, and that was insane. There's so many people there
in the thousands, non-sarcastically in the thousands, I would say.
Yes, no, legitimately, there were that many people there, and there was a decent amount of Aston Middleton for sectionals, and even the district final. I remember I wasn't there, but trying to follow along as best I could, and could see
media was definitely
yeah, but yeah, I think that would be a really cool thing to do the broadcasting, especially when we're kind of hopefully I don't think we'd have to pay what we'd have to do for the PIAA for stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Which I still think is ridiculous, but
it's more ridiculous for me because they're not offering an alternative stream.
Yeah, it's not there's someone doing it. There's nothing.
It's they want you to pay for the rights to a stream that they're not doing.
Yeah,
really annoying.
Well, then you do it. I don't understand. But whatever. That's we can talk for hours about that.
All right. Some other teams that had some good summers. Broomell Newtown Senior Legion hosted the regional tournament at Marple, which is awesome because I feel like every year it's either at Springford or Boyertown or one of those big stadiums. I think it was cool that Delco got to be the host for that. I actually was asked to throw out a first pitch, and I threw a perfect strike at, I believe, 64 miles an hour, which, you know what, for first pitch speed,
pretty good.
Over there, it was a perfect strike. They beat Fort Washington in that first game I was at. They, I believe, were eliminated by a Spring City team that's always good in Legion. That Red Sox.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
We had a couple of Babe Ruth teams go on some runs. I believe the Broomall 13s and 14s were both in the state tournament. I think the Media 15s team was as well. The Nether Swarthmore 12s made I think the Cal Ripken either World Series or like regional or something far away. I think the Haverford 13s as well made a deep run. So, we had some good summers. Obviously the Media the year before set the bar high, but I think this year would be cool, if we could get to like some, like a run where we could travel with the team, Yeah,
that would be very cool. I think we definitely got we got really lucky our first year with like Haven making the states, all those teams like making those World Series, and Media like on top of all of it. And I think last year was a little bit more of like, okay, that's like kind of understanding like what probably more of the norm's going to be. Because like, and not to say like, oh, like the teams aren't that good. It's just like, that is the reality. It's really hard. Like the reason these things are a big deal is because it's really hard to get there.
I think we appreciated it at the time, but probably didn't really think about the fact that like we may never go back to Williamsport. That's just reality. Like it was like
I remember us like having that conversation though of like this, and then like almost the reason, because I had to like pull a couple strings to get off of work and stuff, is like I might as well do this because like there's no guarantee that I'm ever back here in my life. Like no shot.
Yeah.
Not no shot, but like no like. There's just no guarantee, so I might as well do it.
I would be surprised if we never get like another Delco team in the state championship for baseball, like for high school. But Williamsport and like a deep Little League run could be so unpredictable.
Yeah, that's I would expect, especially with like, I mean, we've talked about how like player development and stuff in Delco has just exploded. I would expect to see more Delco teams making those kind of runs. But yeah, Williamsport is just, because I mean, you can just run into like some kid who's just completed puberty and throws 75, and it's like, well, get him next year. It's just,
yeah, what are you gonna do? Exactly. All right, let's wrap up the show here with some of our minor league guys that had great years. Kevin McGonigal from Bonner, he was the MVP of the Florida State League, which was the, I believe, low A for the Tigers. That was the Lakeland Flying Tigers. He ended up getting called up to the high A West Michigan Whitecaps. Still, I think only 20 years old. I think that there's a very real chance that he could find his way in Double A this year. I think that that's probably, a good goal for him for this year. It would be to make it to Double A. I think he didn't have too much time in high A before he broke, I think it was like his hamate bone in his wrist.
Yeah.
So not really too much time there, but I mean, he just feels like a guy that he's just going to hit 300 at every level he's at.
That's what I mean. He shot up the prospect rankings. I think like even quicker than any of us imagined. We knew he was an incredible baseball player, but when you start getting into like, I think he's a number 23 prospect in baseball. Like that is like, I think a different echelon of like good that, I don't know. Not that like we didn't see, like, but it was just like hard to like it takes a little bit to like realize, of like, wow, like this dude is like that good.
I didn't see it happening this quickly.
Yeah.
Because like when you're on there and you're seeing his name next to like the college stars we know, like he was in between like Chase Burns and like,
Yeah, it's insane. Like,
oh my God,
those other dudes have been on ESPN, like everyone talking about, and then it's like him. I was like, yeah,
well, I think it's because we know he's that good, but we're biased, So people that have no biases at all, just being like, yeah, we think he's going to be like an everyday, second baseman, shortstop that hits for 300 and sneaky power, Yeah, I think sneaky power is good. Like if he's hitting like 15 homers a year and hitting 300, no one's going to complain.
Yeah, there's like I feel like we feel he's that good, but it was funny seeing like these guys are like experts also being like, because we're also two idiots, and like seeing these other guys be like, yeah, no, he is that good. Like,
Yeah.
Like, there we go.
We're justified.
It felt good to be justified.
I think having him in Double A would be awesome because I believe that's Erie. So obviously we're not going to make that 8-hour drive northwest in the state, but that means they also play in Reading and they play in local. They play like Harrisburg Senators, I think, is Double A as well.
Yeah.
Where I go to that Big 26 thing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Chris Newell, Malvern Prep alum, Newtown Square native, but with the Dodgers, hit 20 homers last year across 2 levels. I know Chris is good friends with our Lens guys, so maybe once the studio's done, we can get him to pop on over. But I think that Chris is in an interesting situation where he's being developed really well with the Dodgers, but it's the Dodgers. So, there aren't really many spots up for grabs in terms of the big league clubs. So I think that it would be something where how old is he? He's 2 years below me. So I would say he's probably 23 right now, or maybe 24. I feel like it could be something where if he has another great power year, it might be nice for him for a change of scenery. If he's developed enough where he's hey, I think that I could be close to being a major league talent. Maybe getting out of the Dodger system wouldn't be the worst thing, just for the sake of, having more options. If he was on the White Sox, he might be their best player,
Yeah, it's a real chance of that. I think another really good year out of him, I think probably gives him a good shot to at least get pretty close. And with the way, the Dodgers are World Series or bust every year at this point. You have $1 billion plus in your team. You need to go win. So, they'll probably, look to make deals at, sorry. That was wrong. They'll probably look to make deals at the deadline. And, it's always kind of those prospects that kind of grow in value, might be one of those guys. But honestly, still, he's doing really well. I think that's all you can hope is for him to keep doing really well.
Yeah, control the controllables,
Yeah.
Well, speaking of someone that was traded at the deadline, Nate Furman is a San Francisco Giant now, which another guy who I think that change of scenery is very beneficial because as a second baseman, Cleveland took another second baseman, Travis Bazzana, first overall. So I think, when that happened, Nate might have seen the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
Kind of being my path here is either a change of position or a change of organization. So I think going to the Giants is good for him. Also, I think he can abuse that triples alley in right center.
Oh yeah. That's
good guy.
That's good for I feel like Giants Stadium is very good for lefties that maybe don't have a ton of juice. Just for guys that don't have a ton of juice in general, it's a good stadium to hit in because you do have those deep alleys that you can kind of get one in, run forever. You've got the right field that's kind of close. You can sneak one out of.
And he did add some sneaky pop last year.
He did, yeah.
He'll be joining Tom Kane in San Francisco, who had a decent year. He had about a 4 ERA. I think he's someone that, if he puts it all together, generally has that major league mid to upper 90s with a lefty sinker. He has that potential. He was just always raw coming out of Maryland. So I think that's good that he's I don't know. It's cool that they're together. I think there's a good chance they're at the same level too, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Billy Corcoran was called up to Double A. A good friend of mine, state champion. Shout out the 2014 Nether Providence Bulldogs Legion. I know Billy's no stranger to state championships with Malvern as well. But he got called up to, I believe he was on the Hillsborough Hops, and I'm trying to guess before I look it up what the Double A is. Oh, it's the Sod Poodles.
I was about to say, was he the Sod Poodles?
Yeah, it was the Sod Poodles. And he struggled a bit going to Double A, but he spent way more time in Double A this year. So I think it's cool. Especially from Billy's path being a undrafted free agent. How many undrafted free agents even make it up to Double A, even get that opportunity? So I think that, this is definitely a big year for his career, seeing if he can, survive at this level. But excited to see that. And all I just say about Billy is guys that are 6'8" should not have that kind of changeup. It's not fair. It's not fair. We're stretching a little bit outside of Delco here, but Jack Kahanowitz made his MLB debut for the Angels. He went to Harriton. I think I can say the only big league player I've ever faced. I'm pretty sure, because when I was a senior, we went on the road and spanked Harridan in the playoffs, and they started Jonah Frankel, but I think we put up like 4 on both him and Kahanowitz. I grounded out, but there was a run on second, no outs, so I got the runner to third. So
productive at bat. There you go.
That was a success. The run scored. So we're playing winning baseball here. Kahanowitz actually helped me win a fantasy baseball championship because I was nervous to I needed a spot starter, and he was playing the White Sox. I'm like, you know what? Like, I would start you against the White Sox if it
was meant to be.
White Sox catching a lot of strays in this episode, but you know what? When you lose the most games in MLB history, then you deserve everything you get there.
Yeah, I feel like a little just in general for baseball, it's probably just don't suck.
Yeah,
it's kind of the first step, and people will be a little bit nicer to you.
Yeah. I want to spend as little time talking about the Philadelphia Phillies men's professional baseball franchise as possible after that embarrassing exit last year. But, I will say, obviously, they lost to the Mets in 4 games last year. The Mets had their voodoo Cinderella magic. I still believe that I don't know if we'll win the division again, but I do believe that we'll at the very least be like that 4 or 5 matchup. Yeah. I think with this rotation, they had so many starts from Taijuan Walker last year that you got to think that getting Jesus Luzardo to start those 5th games instead is huge.
That'll make a difference.
I think they're going to win over 90 games, and whether they win the division or not kind of just depends on what the rest of the teams do. Like, is Spencer Strider off Tommy John number 2 and Acuna off ACL tear number 2 the same exact player they were before? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I still think they're top 5 of their position, but 2 Tommy Johns is nothing to scoff at.
No. And was it Tommy John or was it something else he got?
I think it's Tommy John.
Okay. I thought it was bone spur. Okay. Well, yeah, double TJ's not great. I think, honestly, I would say double ACL is probably worse than double TJ.
Yeah.
TJ at this point is a little bit more of a routine thing. You can bounce back from that because it's ACLs, once those knees go,
for a guy that's still
it's gonna be.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Phillies will still be a good team. I think it's one of those things where once they get back on the field and start winning, people will kind of forget. But really, just the further away they get, the more that Diamondback series hurts because they should have beat them. Gun to my head, I still think that they lose to the Rangers. I think that team
I do too, yeah.
Everyone that they played, and they would have feasted on our bullpen. But the fact that they didn't even get that, chance is embarrassing. But yeah, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, whether or not they win the World Series just depends. Can their offense stay hot for 3 or 4 rounds? Because in the past, no, they haven't. They went cold at the end of the Diamondback series. They went cold at the end of the Astros in 2022, but when they're hot, they're the best offense in the league. And when they're cold, they swing at any pitch in the dirt. So it's just a matter of, can they stay consistently hot enough? Maybe.
Yeah. They're a really good team, but they are what they are. Mm-hmm. And it is if they can get hot, and we've seen it, when they made it to the World Series, if they can get hot, there's really no teams that are going to be able to beat them.
Yeah.
And when it's bad, it's bad. They're going to have, I think that for a while they were I don't know what the favorite child of all the sports teams, just with everything they've done. You're not going to get that benefit of the doubt anymore, especially now that the Eagles won. Jalen's kind of all that now. People aren't going to be you're still, the best story or the best in the city. You're not anymore,
Yeah, 2022 was the underdog run, right? I have no hard feelings about that. I wish they won. The Astros were better than them.
For sure. That was one of, you look back, that was part of that Astros dynasty that, one of the better teams to be assembled.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to win per se, but 2023, they should have won. 2024 might have still lost to
the Mets,
but they should have at least beat the Mets. And now this year, it's the Dodgers only got better. So now you got to just hope that the choker thing comes back for them. But I don't know. It might be off. I mean, I will say it's good for baseball that there's a villain again, like a true.
Yeah, I think so too. They've made themselves like must see TV. I mean, they already were when they got Shohei, but like even now, it's just I like it. Like I think the Yankees were that for so long, and I don't think they have that same ambition. I'm sure from all my roommates screamings and everything, but like, yeah, like I don't think they have that same ambition to be that villain, but the Dodgers obviously do. It is good. I think like sports, like honestly, like I feel like a sport having a heel is like almost more valuable than having like that superstar, because everyone will tune in to hate watch. Like,
yeah, you know how many people the Eagles like watch that Super Bowl rooting for us because they hate Mahomes even more.
Yeah, it's
we had 49ers fans rooting for us. I'm like, I don't like you guys.
Yeah, so why you guys should hate us. I mean, that like 49ers fans, that had to be. I mean, there's nothing worse. To be fair, like for us, the previous year, there was nothing worse than 49ers Chiefs. So this one was just as bad for them.
Yeah. More on that Delco football now coming soon. Yeah. No, but for now, we're excited to get this thing rolling this year. We'll still be doing like previews. We just won't have the kids in studio to talk about it. We'll have those articles out. I think, Ben, I was thinking about this. I thought last year our long high school preview episode was kind of too long. So I think what we could maybe do is like a Central League preview in one episode, and then like the other 12 or so teams like in a different one.
Yeah.
We'll also have different college stuff to talk about as well. As of this is being recorded Sunday morning. It should be out Sunday night. Going to the melting pot tonight for the first time ever. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, no, I just think, we're going to try and get in that regular schedule of just having episodes on Sunday nights, because unless the Phillies are playing on Sunday Night Baseball, there's really no huge draw, like must-see program going on Sunday night television. And I think that having this could kind of just set the tone, because like it's hard if we release it Monday morning for people to get the full time to listen, right? But I think Sunday night is a good time to get it out. People can listen throughout their maybe to their commute to work, if it's parents or people that are out of school or walking around campus or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Excited to get this thing going, but we'll be back in studio soon enough. We'll have an update on that sometime soon. But for now, I think, I know a lot of people just listen to the show anyway, so that part doesn't really affect them. But I think as long as it's just us two, then I don't think it's too big of a drop off between this and in studio. But we would just want to have more people coming in. So that's the plan. But I think this is a good recap to the year. We're going to start diving into everything going on, high school, college, for the most part, maybe a little Phillies. But for right now, from Ben Thorpe, from myself, Brennan Ricciardi, we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next week.